You won it?
Well, no, no.
You were playing for it.
I was playing for it, yeah. And well, I can go a lot of different directions on that one.
No, but that was some education as a kid
Yeah,
to have playing in this kind of band.
yeah.
Do you remember the very first song you wrote?
Yeah, it was a song called Writings, and it went something like this. And again, this is back in the era where Emerson, Lake and Palmer, yes, all those guys were the people that I was listening to. So it went, and I'll just play a little bit of it. Anyway, kind of sinister sounding at times.
No, that's so cool. So that song was just the instrumental. Do any of your
It
songs
had
have
words, yeah. The guitar player at the time, he wrote the words, which was a fortress in the olden ages, like apples on a winter's tree, and the smell of burning wood on the pages of poetry. Pretty cool lyrics for
No, it is
1974.
really, and for a kid, or I don't know how old he was, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah.
So very exciting that you wrote that. And by the way, good news, we are now on Facebook Live. We weren't in the beginning, so
Oh.
now you can wave again
Hey.
to everybody,
Yeah,
all your
everybody.
fans in Facebook Live, and look at to hear you perform as well. But that's pretty exciting. So that was your first song. And singer-songwriters really amaze me, because not only are you performing, but you're writing songs. Where'd you go from there? In other words, how often do you write your song?
Well, I went from doing that prog rock type stuff to really not writing anything. So I went off to Nashville at the age of 22 to try to pursue songwriting and a music career. And the farthest I got was driving a forklift in a music warehouse.
In the field?
So it was a great experience. And then I came back to Vero Beach, and I got into the golf business for 15 years. And during that time, raised a family, really not a lot of time for music. So it was really probably in my late 30s, early 40s when I started writing again. And so what was the question?
No, it's just saying that how you got back into writing songs.
Yeah, so that was kind of how it started, and then started experimenting with different recording technology and learning how to write songs and then overdub them with bass and flute sounds and things that I would eventually use real live bass players and flute players, but at least as I was sketching them out, these recording systems enabled me to at least get an idea of what I wanted them to sound like.
Now, when you write, are you also coming up with the words, or is that a separate part of the process?
It's ironic that words are really hard to come by for me. I mean, I have one album called Holding Space that, and I'll play a few tunes off of that. I recorded back in '08. There are 5 songs on there. So there's always that kind of a singer-songwriter wannabe inside. I would really like to be writing more lyrics, and so occasionally I do. And I wrote a song called Two Daughters, and I'll play just a little bit of that.
And by the way,
sorry.
just before you play that, so when you write with somebody else, do you sometimes have somebody else write the words for you?
I've since back in the band days, back in the '70s, I've pretty much written all the lyrics and the music myself. I've had some people step in. That one person, Sean Galloway, helped me with the lyrics to a song that one of my favorites called "Dance of the Divine," that was inspired in part by the Asheville Movement Collective, where I used to go on a fairly regular basis, and just about the dance, our own personal dance, and so that went with like.
Well, why don't we take some of that? Sure.
Yeah. So it goes. Two bodies meld into a dance. A sweet communion has begun. It's more than something sensual. And this love I assume is the dance of the divine in me and you. So kind of goes on like that.
By the way, and next time we start a song, feel free to, do the whole thing. But that's beautiful. And I know Cynthia used to dance in Asheville Movement Collective, and that really seems like what it's all about, though.
Well, then the chorus, and I should play the chorus
Please.
where it goes, when we dance like there's honey in the wine, we dance, letting our light shine. In our joy, love is all we find, yeah. We dance, the dance of the divine.
Very cool.
Thanks.
But it's so perfect for that group, I would think.
Yeah.
It's almost they should use that as their, theme song or something.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. Did you ever perform before the Asheville Movement Collective?
No, I never did.
Let's talk about that somewhere. You and I have talked a little bit about some things you could do. I think that'd be a natural, because they know you or you used to dance there. And
I don't know if I have enough of my repertoire that would do all 5 rhythms.
Well, no, exactly. But I'm not talking necessarily at a Asheville Movement Collective thing,
Oh.
but, just
Maybe like an improv dance kind of a thing.
Right,
I have done that, where people are just kind of doing their dance. In fact, when I play at Leaf, I've been doing this for a number of years. I play morning piano at Eden Hall, and I play pretty early, like from 8 to 9:30, and oftentimes people will get up and just kind of do their morning dance. A lot of stretching and yawning at that hour.
do you like people getting up to dance to your stuff?
Pardon?
Do you like people getting up to dance to your stuff?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
How about singing along? Do any people sing along? Or do you do any of that?
Yeah, I guess there's some people who know a couple of my songs to where when I play out, they actually request them. So it's like, wow, that's cool.
Okay. No, because some people tell me, or most performers seem to like it. I guess the advantage is that you lose control of the mic. So if you don't have the sounding, you can control how much you're going to hear from them a little bit.
Right.
You mentioned before people are requesting a song. Give me an example of a song they request.
So this is a song called Letter to Myself, and it was written after I had done this retreat about 15 years ago. And the last day of the retreat, we were asked to write ourselves a letter that they were then going to mail to us 6 months from then. And in this letter, we were supposed to just kind of say where we were, emotionally, spiritually, and to put that in writing, and that out of the blue, 6 months later, they were going to be sending it to us to, either to inspire us or motivate us or cheer us up. And so it's called Letter to Myself, and it goes, I'm going to write myself a letter and give it to a friend and have them send it about a year from now. When it arrives, I'll have to decide if I'm ready to hear the words I had to say. There'll be promises made of new and better ways, waiting for the day of my decision. Will I choose to see, is this who I want to be? How I want my life to unfold. Truth that lies beyond the veil of doubt. In finding common ground, it's what we're all about. To reach across the aisle and try to understand, really try to understand that we all have our stories to tell. Thank you.
What a great concept, though. So for that retreat, yeah, so you didn't write the letter, you wrote the song
Yes,
as a result. Did they send it to you 6 months later, a year later?
they did, yeah.
Did they? Oh, good for them, though. So what was your reaction to it, hearing it a year later, or
Wow.
6 months later?
Just that I had those words to say to myself, and just I was in this really good, in this really clear place. I felt after 11 days at this retreat. It was an encampment, really. Um, and yeah, so it was great to see that part of me that maybe wasn't showing up fully 6 months later, and I really needed to be reminded of what could be and what my potential is.
I hope you play that when you do gigs. That's such just
I do, yeah.
fun.
Usually, I usually end with that song.
What a great song. And also, we're talking about participation, not that you want people to sing along, but that'd be a great thing to leave people with, to ask them to do the same thing too. Not necessarily
Mhm.
write a song, or they could write a song,
Yeah.
but just write a song to yourself or a story to yourself, and it's going to be open 6 months later or a year later or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Great concept, though, and beautiful song.
Thank you.
You really hit it, though.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's a popular song. I can see why. Anything else comes to mind that either people like or that you like performing?
Well-
I'll ask you, what's your favorite song to perform?
My most recent competition,
Okay.
usually, but it's been a while. So I did the last album I did, which I did with some local musicians, James Vandenberg on guitar,
Sure.
Sherman Hoover on bass, and Micah Thomas on drums, and then we had Frank Salvacorva plays the saxophone. So the whole album is instrumental, and they're fun pieces. They're all short. You know, I feel that if you're going to do instrumental songs that have some level of density to them, you want to make them palatable to maybe somebody who's not listening to jazz or jazzy type tunes. So I think 3 or 4 minutes is really a good length for a song to be. So most of them on that album are like that.
By the way, could any of those songs, could words be added after the fact?
You know, it's really hard once you establish a melody to then try to put the words in there. It's been always my dream, it's never happened, of writing the lyrics and then do the chords, which I think is the way most songwriters, singer-songwriters do it. You kind of box yourself in when you come up with a melody and the chords, and then all of a sudden you've got to try to make words that make sense.
Right.
So,
So one song from that, if you would.
yeah, so this is a song that, this is called View from the Parkway, and it's a song that I had wrote and recorded on my second album called View from the Parkway. So I wanted to do a shorter version that would play better in a live performance with the band. So this is how it goes.
What amazes me about that number, Robert, actually about all your stuff, is that you remember it. You know, that you're not reading music or something.
Time will tell.
No, but it just blows me away for an entertainer that you can remember your stuff, or you know, and the words and the music to it.
Yeah.
And 30 songs, and each one's a little bit different. Do you prefer playing your stuff or somebody else's stuff?
Oh, I like playing a lot of the other stuff, like the American Songbook. So like, I don't want French fried potatoes, red ripe tomatoes. I'm never satisfied. Well, I want the frim fram sauce with the Austin Fay. We should fafa on the side.
What's fun is listening to you and watching you perform, that you do different kinds of stuff. That was just a lot of fun. And you'll just pick up a song and just want to play it, just have some fun with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Robert Thomas in terms of what you do. So one of the things I'm seeing with the music, you seem to have fun playing, do you?
Yes.
You
Oh, yeah.
playing. But you do other stuff too, and that's I've gotten a kick out of knowing you a little bit, that in another life, you said you were a golf pro, but now you were just recently in Japan, I think you were telling me. And what were you doing in Japan?
I was in China,
China.
and Taiwan. I went with one of the companies that I work for. He treated me to this trip over there. He has some people he works with over there, so we were. It was more or less a business trip, but he was also like my tour guide, and he's Taiwanese, speaks the language, knows all the sites. So we spent 4 days in Taiwan. We spent a day in Hong Kong, and we were in Xiamen for 3 days. It was just a week trip, but got to experience a lot of the culture, mostly by food. I mean, we were in big cities most of the time, so in a lot of ways it was very westernized, so there wasn't a lot of difference.
And that was a business trip for him, or you were just...
It was a business trip for him. I was kind of a tag along.
But your other life too, I know you do some business stuff, and what else do you do?
Right. I'm a manufacturer's sales rep for a couple of different outdoor clothing companies. So I sell to the outdoor industry, and I travel all or part of 4 states with a pretty diverse customer base, and I've been doing that for about 25 years, and really enjoy it. I travel a fair amount, and occasionally, like last week, I was over in Tennessee, and the hotel that I stay in, they have a digital piano down in the lobby. So, yeah, so occasionally I get to do things like that.
So you don't bring your keyboard with you?
No, no. Now, if it was the accordion, I could, but too late, that ship has passed.
Or the kazoo would be my
Yeah.
specialty. But the other thing that's unfortunate, I guess, about you having this other business you do too, takes you away from some of your other passions. And one of the things I find kind of interesting about you is that you seem to have a lot of different passions. Aside from the music, you were telling me off there, you're now becoming a pickleball guy. And how'd you get into that?
Yeah, it was about just over a year ago, and I've played a little bit of racquetball. Who hasn't? and tennis, and so in my community where I live, they had a tennis court that wasn't being used, so they painted the pickleball lines, which is about 1/3 the size of a tennis court, and we had this tutorial. A person came and taught us how to play, and so it's a fun game. It has an easy learning curve. It's a very social game. It can be very competitive. It's very quick reflex, requires quick reflexes. And so yeah, I played last night. I played in a round robin down in Black Mountain, and good workout.
The only thing bad about it, though, it's taking you away from your golfing. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not really missing that at the moment.
Is it?
I played, a friend invited me to play in a tournament with her, and it took 5.5 hours to play. And, when I divided that into the number of shots that I hit, it was like every 5 minutes my body is doing something. Whereas in pickleball, it's a very active type of game. If you hit a bad shot, you're not sitting over it, sulking for 5 minutes, waiting for the next shot.
Well, you also mentioned, I think, the key, and one of the reasons I gave up golf, which I played as a kid, is that I didn't have 5.5, 6 hours to just disappear
Right.
from. I had a daughter, and just I'll come back, tomorrow. Something. So it's like pickleball, you can do it relatively quickly.
Yeah, I'm usually there 2.5 hours.
Okay, good workout.
Yeah, it is a good workout.
Have you ever wanted to write a song about? That'd be a fun thing to write a song about pickleball.
About pickleball. Huh, wow,
And keep that in mind, Robert, because I think you'd be the only one who's that? I don't know if I've ever heard a pickleball song. Have you?
No, Blaine, I haven't.
You're
But
challenged
you planted a seed.
for the National Pickleball Association. You know the theme
Their
song.
theme song, yeah,
Yeah.
they're, yeah.
I think as he's writing it. Well, you were saying before before we have you finish with the song, let me just ask a little bit more about Robert Thomas. If first of all, folks want to find out more about you, what's the best way to follow you?
Well, if you go on to Amazon Music, or if you go on to Spotify and you Google Robert Thomas Band, then the newest album, Urban Sunset, will come up. As far as just the first three albums, they were solo albums. You would Google like Robert Thomas View from the Parkway, and then that'll bring them up on there. And from there, you can go into iTunes, and they're for purchase on iTunes.
And they can also follow you on Facebook. Is that correct? Is it?
Yes, Robert Thomas Band.
Robert Thomas Band.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a website, or it's mostly?
It's a work in progress.
So Robert Thomas
which I've been
Band.
saying for the last 5 years. So
Well, you can find it just as easy on Robert Thomas Band on Facebook.
Right.
And lastly, any upcoming gigs?
well, I'm playing at Leaf. That's in October. I've got 2 sets that I'm doing with James Vandenberg, my guitarist. We're going to do a duet thing. We're going to be playing Saturday and Sunday morning. And other than that, I've been playing occasionally at one of the local wine bars. Can I mention the?
You can mention them.
The Rustic Grape, which
Sure.
is just underneath the Aloft Hotel, sweet little wine bar. And looking to do some more house concerts. I did one back around Christmas time. It was to raise money for the Women's March. And we had it at my house, and it was just a solo gig, and we invited like 20 people, and we had some food and wine there, and we raised a nice little sum of money for that. So I'm looking to do more things like that, more fundraising type things for causes that I believe in.
And Robert, as we wind down, I'll have you play. You said you had one other song we can play just part of as we wind down, if you
Yeah.
would.
Okay, sure. This is a song called Mountains. Has kind of an 80s feel to it. Life seems more than I can bear and tries to bring me down. And so confused I wonder why this happens to me. I should listen to that voice within me saying, live your faith from day to day. You will see those mountains start to move. Whoop. I'm gonna leave my past behind and things that tie me down. I'm gonna live my life in the here and now. Wanna listen to that voice within me saying, live your truth from day to day. You will see those mountains start to move.
Good stuff. Robert Thomas. And you can find him on Facebook on the Robert Thomas Band. And thanks for being my guest this first half hour.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Okay, that's great, Robert. And as Robert kind of winds his way out, I should mention that support for this show and WPVM is underwritten by the Grail Movie House, Asheville's alternative cinema. Grail Movie House is an independent, locally owned 3-screen cinema located in downtown Asheville. For current features, visit the Grail website at grailmoviehouse.com or the Grail's social media pages. I'd also like to mention a couple of the upcoming things happening in the Asheville area, and they include, let's see, an evening of mystical poetry with Tracy Schmidt and Terry Crosby, who have been guests on this show in the past. That will take place on September 20th, Friday evening at 7:30 p.m., and that will be at the Unity of Blue Ridge, 2004 1 Fanning Bridge Road in Mills River. Also, you can catch performances at the Center for Art and Inspiration. There are 2 upcoming shows which sound really exciting. One involves it's going to be on Thursday, September 5th. There's going to be a book reading and signing with author Philip Bauer. In addition, there's going to be a show, The Legend of Johnny Cash, starring Philip Bauer, and that'll be on Friday, September 6th. You can find information about all the programs at the center by going to the centrai.com. That's centerai.com. And that's a really neat facility that opened recently in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I'm thinking, as I mentioned that, Murphy, that's some place we'll have to get you down there, too. Have you been to the center yet?
I have not.
Okay, really neat kind of new facility. But as Murphy's getting settled, I should mention that I guess the second half hour is Murphy Funkhauser Caps. She's partner founder of Kudzu Brands. She's also a business coach, speaker, storyteller. I guess you do a little bit of everything, Murphy.
I guess I do.
Okay, in your spare time. First of all, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And I want you to make sure, Murphy, you wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook Live, so they're all watching you. And Murphy is the founder and brand strategist of the successful brand and marketing agency Kudzu Brands, which has helped hundreds of businesses tell their stories and make an impact in the market. Her business experience, combined with her passion and experience as a stage performer, has helped put hundreds of businesses on stage, I like that, and tell their stories with impact. She's also a business coach, speaker, storyteller, raconteur, mother, you name it. Murphy's done it at some point in time in her life. And ties right into the whole question I asked you before we got on live here, Murphy, is that you were, as a kid, you were a performer, is that correct?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
you started, I was so impressed, you started actually at 3 years of age?
At 3 years of age was my very first role.
And what was that?
I was in Charlie Brown, and I was Peppermint Patty. And my very first line was, "You slide dog, you're holding my hand."
I can't believe you still remember that.
Yeah, I do.
Did you have a lot of lines?
No, that was my only line.
Oh, your one and only
My
line.
one and only line.
And how many times was this performed?
I think it was just one time, but boy, it made an impact. And I think I knew right then at that moment when the spotlight hit me that that's what I wanted to do.
And unfortunately, you told me that nobody has a record of this. Is that
No,
correct?
I think there is a still picture.
Oh, a still
There
picture?
is a still picture with my little pot belly and my little knobby knees. Yeah.
And because I told you, one of the things I want to do, not just with you, but you name it, Stephanie Hickman, Stephanie with Different Strokes, all the performers I speak to, I want to get you all on stage, maybe a Magnetic Theater or someplace. Everybody's going to do their first performance ever.
I think it's great.
So you said nobody had a record of this. We can now have a record of this, and you could get the same costume.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd fit in it.
Yeah, probably not.
But wouldn't that be great?
Yes.
So 3 years old, you're off and running as a performer. Did you continue?
So I acted all through childhood, and when I graduated from high school, I really, really wanted to go to New York and be an actress. But a little backstory, my father was a minister. I grew up in a pretty conservative household, and so my parents had other ideas, and they sent me to Bible college.
Okay, slightly different.
Slightly different. And I rebelled, and I left. The joke is I went screeching out of the gates in an act of rebellion that will go down in the Southern Methodist history books. And I actually went and lived on the streets for a couple of years because I just was very lost and I didn't know what to do with my life. And so I got away from theater for a while because I turned to survival mode and worked my way up the corporate ladder with, grit and tenacity, and did lots of different jobs, from bartender. I was a corporate trainer, eventually was an operations manager. I was way out in Colorado up in the mountains and worked at the ski resorts for many years and did lots of different jobs until I came back to Asheville in 2008. And what actually brought me back was I wrote a one-woman show. I was a single mother, and while my daughter slept at night, I wrote this show because I had a story I really wanted to tell. And that show is what brought me across the country. And I always say that I came sputtering into Asheville, North Carolina, where all Subarus with junk in the trunk bumper stickers go to die.
Right.
My play is all about baggage. And so I had 500 pounds of physical and metaphorical baggage, and I came to Asheville. And I put the baggage away again for a little while so I could go back to work. And I actually I worked at the radio station for several years, writing radio ads and doing voiceovers for radio ads, and discovered a love of marketing and branding. And then, long story short, I met my husband, and together we started our company, Kudzu Brands, back in 2010. So we'll be celebrating 10 years with that company next year.
So when you got back to Asheville, and I know I missed the show the first time around, but you did a show.
I did.
Did you do it elsewhere?
So I've performed it locally at the North Carolina Stage Company
Right.
at the Catalyst Festival. I've done it at ACT twice. We did both of those as fundraisers for their youth theater program. And then I'll be opening it next weekend at the Magnetic Theater.
Let's talk about that one, because that's one I'm really excited about, in that it's going to be a little bit unusual, you know, and I just love the concept. Explain it to our listeners.
Sure. So since I wrote the first play, I've actually written a second play, which is a sequel. And so there's 2 chapters. One's called Crazy Bag, that's chapter 1. And then the second chapter is called Carry On. And together, collectively, they're called the Baggage Plays. And so the idea was that people love to binge watch things. They binge watch Netflix. And so we thought, well, wonder if they would binge watch theater. So we're performing both plays consecutively, or rather simultaneously, so audiences can choose if they want to come to chapter 1 or they want to come to chapter 2, or if they want to do a double header and buy both, and or any of the above. So we're going to see how audiences respond to this, and how it works out, and I'll report back to you later on what I discover.
Could folks see chapter 2 without chapter 1?
They absolutely could. At the beginning of chapter 2, there's a recap of chapter 1. We actually do it in a really funny way. It's the flight of the baggage set to the flight of the bumblebees.
I love it.
And I buzz all over the stage, and I retell the story in about 6 minutes. And so if you miss chapter 1 and you only come for chapter 2, you'll get the gist of the story and still feel very caught up. And simultaneously, if you came to chapter 1, you won't feel exhausted by having a 6-minute recap again.
Well, one of the nice things also about the show, we were talking off the air, is the fact that it's not long. I mean, I love the perfect length of it. We talked about this. How long are the
It's
shows?
75 minutes, both chapters, and there's no intermission. So you come in, you get a wham bam of a show, and then you get out and get to go back with your life.
And the great concept is, if you see 1 and 2 back to back, that's on the weekends?
So you can
And-
come at 3 o'clock and
Right.
see one and go have some dinner and come back at 7 for the second.
Okay, so it's perfect timing if you want to do both. So you wrote these. What I'm coming up with is an idea based on what our first guest said, Robert Thomas, that those are chapters 1 and 2. Would really be cool to write a third
Well,
sequence.
that's the plan.
But not even, it's your life like you'd like it to be, you know, so in terms of, rather than wait for 10 years or 20 years, that here's Murphy, you know, and wouldn't that be kind of a neat
That's
concept?
a neat idea, yeah.
See where it's going, or here's going to be the future or we don't know the future.
Yeah,
but-
guess at it, right. You know, the idea was always that it was going to be called the Baggage Trilogy, and it was going to have a third component called Packing Up. And whether that was me watching my children pack up to go on with their lives, or is it me packing up
That's what I'm thinking.
to head off into the great beyond? So I'm not sure yet how that's going to manifest.
Oh, that would be incredible, though. But just, you know, the idea of just thinking about it is kind of a neat concept. And that when you wrote this, so the first one was, you said you did for years ago, that was just up to that point in time in your life?
Correct.
And were there 2 parts to it, or just the one
There was
part?
just the one part.
So, in terms of writing it, do you like the writing part of it?
I love the writing part of it. I mean, I say I love it. I made a post on Facebook the other day, and I said, you know, I love writing is wonderful. Writing is hard. I wonder if I should Google that thing that I was going to look at for my eyebrows. You know, it's like,
Right.
you know, it's definitely a discipline. You definitely have to sit down and make yourself do it. But once you get into it, I think it's a very enjoyable process.
Do you like the writing or performing more?
I love the performing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate the blocking, the learning, the getting through the nitty-gritty of it. But I know that it's necessary to get to the performance piece.
Because I think the first time I ever saw you perform was in the one show. What was that one?
I think you saw
Magnetic?
me in Grave Lullaby by Jameson Ridenhour. Yeah.
And just a fun play, but no offense to the other performers, I loved everybody in it, but I thought you stole it, you know, and that you made it come alive, and it was
Thank you.
a fun, you know, it was a serious play in parts, but it was a fun play, But you just had fun with that role. Did you enjoy it?
I really, really did. And actually, I'm not a fan of the horror genre.
Right, right.
I never watch scary movies. And when Jameson asked me to do the part, I said, well, only if I can make it really funny. But he's a great writer, so it was written really, really well and written funny. And so I was just able to have a lot of fun with his words.
Did Rodney direct that too?
No, but Rodney was in it.
Okay, that was it, yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, Rodney also has that capability. He did another play he directed, which was a horror, the Night of the Living Dead or
Yep,
something. Did you
mhm.
see that?
I did not, but I've heard fantastic things about it.
And I had the same reaction. Who in the world would want to see this, you know? But it was fantastic,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know. So your show, my reaction was, I just came in because I knew, some of the performers other than you. But it was fun, though, you know.
Yeah.
And he does good stuff.
Yes, he does.
It's a lot of fun, too. So do you have any favorite roles you've ever done?
Favorite roles I've ever done. So I was in a really fun play, a Durang play called Beyond Therapy years ago, which is it's a whole sequence that takes place at a table at a restaurant, and it's two people who are absolutely insane and certifiably insane, and they're trying to date each other. And so the mixture of their conversations and their neuroses and their thoughts, and it has these wonderful, wonderful big moments and sad moments and funny moments. And I did that at a little theater called Theater Central in Knoxville, Tennessee, that doesn't exist anymore. But that was probably one of my very, very favorite parts. And then I've done some classics. I did Titania in A Midsummer Night's Dream. That was a good part. I did Louisa in The Fantastics years ago when I was in college. And that's a pretty magical show and a pretty magical part.
Is memorization tough for you?
No, my mother used to say if I could memorize algebra like I could memorize a script, I would have gone much further in life.
Really? Wow.
I could probably memorize a script in 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, I do worry that, as I get older, that may change, but right now that is probably my super secret power.
Well, the other secret we can tell listeners too is that's, I guess, one of the beauties of you doing this one-person show, because it doesn't matter.
That's
you know.
right.
What do you say? It's going to be original to me. It's your words. So,
You have no idea.
so the only person Rodney would know, the director
Right.
and your lighting person. But
Yeah.
other than that, you could fool me.
And it's pretty It's pretty easy to improvise when it's your own life, right? You can.
Well, but I love the concept you were telling me. So it's going to be on stage. Interesting kind of staging. Just going to be a lot of bags on stage.
Yep, that's it. The entire set is baggage, and I didn't count this time, but I think there was probably about 40 bags on stage: suitcases, steamer trunks, garment bags. There's a huge crate. It's really neat. And actually, this show, when it was first put together back in 2008, it won the best set at the Colorado Theater Festival. And I mean, people came in with huge trucks, semi-trucks, with these gorgeous crafted sets, and I showed up with 20 pieces of baggage and one best set. So it's pretty cool, and it also makes it easy to travel with.
Well, excepting in terms of presenting it, so you have to remember the order of the pieces, or you just go left to right, or how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a lot of physicality. But, it looks like a mess, as
Right.
the audience would think when they walked in. It was just a bunch of baggage on a stage, but every single bag is placed precariously, purposefully, has an intention. I know exactly where to grab, right, left. I spent a lot of time before the show making sure all the bags are exactly where they're supposed to be. And then each bag, well, not each bag, but several bags contain items, so that I open them up and pull them out and tell stories about them.
But what a great way to write a play or to write a script or story that you're telling about the different things in the bags or the baggage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very universal theme. Like, we all have it. We all carry
Right.
something with us through life. I opened the show with a joke that, some people might fly through life with nothing but a fanny pack, but the rest of us have to admit we packed a little too much for the journey.
Well, sounds like my wife, though. We're just in regular packing, or we're now packing up our house to move. And,
Yes, you said that.
a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
That, it reminds me of baggage we have, and that's why this theme is so universal. I mean, everybody can relate to it,
Absolutely.
and it's I think it's going to be. No, I was going to kid you. It's not going to be a serious dramatic piece. There's a little bit of drama and.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that we all have something heavy that we're carrying with us. But certainly when people hear the shows are called the baggage plays, there might be a perception that it's really heavy and that it's just an angry woman up there screaming and throwing her baggage around. And I think I throw a couple pieces. But no, it's light. I try to bring some lightness to the topic, some humor. So audiences are going to laugh as much as they're going to cry.
Okay, something to look forward to. That's going to be at Magnetic Theater starting, what, next week?
Yep, it opens next week, runs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 2 weeks. And the way it's going to work is Chapter 1 is Thursdays, Chapter 2 is Fridays, and then we're doing a doubleheader on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, and those times start at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, 3 o'clock and 7.
And at 7 o'clock, so something to look forward to. And again, if folks want information about that part of Murphy's, what she's up to, they can just go to the Magnetic Theater website,
Yep,
I guess?
magnetictheater.org. Yeah.
Okay, it should be a lot of fun and encourage people to see it. In addition to your acting, performing, and this is the part I want to know more about as well, you started in this business, you had 10 years now, with your husband.
I did.
And what was
yeah.
the idea behind that?
So my husband actually started the business. My husband and I both, he was an attorney for many years, and then I was in, like I said, corporate training and operations management. We met at a pivotal point in our lives when we were both at a crossroads and sort of trying to decide what was next. And the idea was to bring together business acumen and creativity. There are a lot of creative agencies, a lot of options for businesses who need to get some support with their design or their creativity, but there's not a lot of opportunities for them to also get business consultation and actual hard strategy. So the idea was to bring those two together and to help businesses grow with branding support, marketing support, strategy support, project management support. So over the last 10 years, we have helped hundreds of businesses grow. 60% of our clientele are local and the rest are out of market. We work with all different types of industries and businesses, everything from coming in to do some strategy to figure out what their message is or what they're selling or who they're selling it to, all the way up to full service brand management where we manage all of their marketing, all of their communications, all of their PR.
And you raised a really good point, I think. Is a lot of people, I think, spend too much time trying to come up with the great brand or the logo or some concept of it and do nothing with it. Just
Correct.
to have it
Right.
is a waste, so you have to do something with it. Talk about, take me from the beginning process. So somebody comes to you, and are they new startups or some existing business or a little bit of both?
Actually, the majority of we do work with some startups, but the majority of our clients are people who have been in business probably anywhere from 5 to 15 years. And they've come to not an impasse, but they're stagnating. They're not growing like they used to. There's either that or there's some market confusion. People don't understand clearly what they do. Maybe they don't even understand clearly what they do. Maybe they want to take it to the next level, open up new locations, add new products or services. So they're in some sort of shift or transition. And so they come to us to get support through that transition. We do a lot of rebranding. And oftentimes when we're startups, we just head off down the road with our makeshift logo that maybe our cousins, brothers, uncles, sister made for us, and a passion, but we don't have a clearly formulated idea. So our job is to help people sort of get off the bus for just a minute, take a look at how far they've come, where they want to go, and what they want that to look like. And we tell people that we help them become memorable, profitable, and sustainable brands. So it's one thing, again, to have clever creative that makes you memorable, but you also have to have strategies that make that concept profitable. And you also have to craft something that's going to be sustainable for many, many, many years.
I love that because too many businesses I find in the Asheville area, I do a lot of work with SCORE and BizWorks and AB Tech, is that they start businesses, but they're not thinking about making any money on it.
Correct.
So I don't know, Murphy, if you see this, but I work with so many people, and if they look at what they make, it's like $2.37 an hour. They work 100-hour weeks.
Yep.
So if you're going to be in business, you want to be able to make money. And the third part I just love, you want to be able to sustain
Yes.
it, And a lot of people forget that as well.
And sustain also means protecting you. You are your company's greatest resource. And there is artists and business owners sort of live in the same space where we feel like we have to suffer, that it just comes with the territory, that it has to be hard, that we have to be poor. And it's a huge aha moment for most business owners when they realize that they need to pay themselves, they need to pay themselves well, they need to protect their time, their energy, and only then will you actually you transition at that moment from being just another business to being a sustainable brand or a scalable company. I had a friend who was a business consultant ask me one time, he said, if you were to sell your business today, are you selling a business or are you selling a job? And that was really pivotal moment for me because at that time, I think I was doing 14 different roles in my own company.
Right.
And I said, I'm not selling a job, I'm selling 14 jobs. And he said, nobody would ever buy that. It has no value because the moment you're gone,
Exactly.
You
And
know,
then it would
what's left? Yep.
overwhelm them also.
That's right.
But I also contend, Murphy, and I ask people this too, are you having fun in it? Because if you're not having fun in it, then you shouldn't be doing
Mm-hmm. yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, exactly. And I got out of the corporate world because I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to, determine my own destiny in a sense. And my first 5 years in business, I was a slave to my business. I was working harder than I ever did in the corporate world. And I thought, wait, what's going on here? And it wasn't until I learned some lessons the really hard way that I figured it all out and realized that owning a business can be fun and very, very rewarding.
And you're trying to share this with your clients.
Yep.
But talk about something you said, though, that you do this with your husband as well.
Well, I did. So my husband actually was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer 2 years ago and had to retire from the business.
Yeah.
And so I was running it by myself. And then I had a fabulous woman. I think she was sent from God, my business partner, Heather Johnson. And she came in and has been running the business with me for the last 2 years.
Because yeah, it seems that, that you have how many clients, for example?
We currently manage about 60.
Wow, that keeps you busy.
Yeah.
How many people do you employ?
7.
7 full-time?
yeah.
Okay, very exciting stuff. And so if anybody's listening, and we'll talk about getting in touch with you, but that if they're in that position, that they're kind of wondering what position they're in, I get that's part of the issue.
Yeah.
That if you're wondering what you're doing or you're not having fun and you're not making any money on this, might be a good time for a consultation.
Absolutely. We'd love to help.
And then, so what happens? I come in, and you find out what I've done in the past, and then I guess where I am now
Sure.
and where I want to go.
The acronym that I always use is GROW, and that stands for goals. What are your goals?
Right.
R is resources. What resources are we working with here? Because I can make all types of strategy recommendations, but the first thing I have to know is what do I have to work with to make those recommendations? What's viable or feasible for the business? O is options. So we look at all the different options that are available and which ones are practical and make sense for the target audience and for the goals. And then W is will it work? Will it work? And so we evaluate the goals, the resources, the options, and will it work? And that's how we make our strategy recommendations.
I would imagine you're being of service to some people is that they come and sit down with you and they come to the realization that, hey, maybe it's not going to work. Does that ever happen?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've become really good at delivering bad news. One of the things that I always say is, it's true when they say you can't put lipstick on a pig. And we'll have
You can?
people, yeah, you cannot. And we'll have people come in and they want to market and they want to put their product out to market and they want a flashy campaign and beautiful designs. And the first thing I say is, well, let's actually look at the product or the service that you're selling first. And is it viable and is it sustainable and is it desired in the market? And they're always like, no, let's go to the design part. Let's do the fun part. Because sometimes we discover that it would actually be detrimental to take this product to market, to tell people about it, because once they discover it, they're not going to be satisfied, and then it's a complete backslide from that point. I had a hotel client years ago that came in, and this was back before I really helped people look behind the curtain before I said yes to moving forward with a marketing campaign, and I put together a big strategy and got them tons of rooms booked. And they had terrible service. They were way understaffed, and they got tons of bad online reviews, and it actually was really harmful to the brand to do marketing. So the first thing is take a look at your operations, your processes, your systems, your staffing, those things first. Make sure they're ready to rock and roll, and then do marketing.
That's interesting because so many businesses I find do just the opposite.
That's absolutely right.
I
Yep.
come in so many startups, and they haven't given any of this thought. And then, the classic, almost a little bit opposite what you just said, they'll start, and then they're worried about having too many customers, and that should be the least of their concerns,
Well, you should worry about having too many customers if you're not ready to receive them.
Exactly, yeah. But too many people aren't ready to receive them or aren't ready to do, whatever. Talk about a success story you've had with one of your clients, and you can mention the client name if you want to give a shout out.
Oh, my goodness.
Or just in general, if you want.
Yeah, sure. So we had a small local clothing store that came to us. They were a legacy brand, had been in the market for many, many years, and she was really struggling because she felt this real sort of obligation to satisfy the demand that she perceived to entertain a younger audience. She felt that her demographic was older women and that wasn't going to be sustainable for her. Somehow she'd gotten in her mind that she needed to be younger, she needed to be hipper, she needed to be trendier. Her shop was here in downtown Asheville. And she came to me and she was almost in tears because she said, that's just not who I am. You know, I'm a middle-aged woman and my audience has always been middle-aged women, but for some reason, you know, I'm getting these younger girls come into my store and they're like, ugh, these are old lady clothes, you know? And so we went through what we call our discovery process, and we discovered, you know, what was her purpose, what was her why, what was her vision for long range for the business, who did she want to be? And her brand was targeting middle-aged women and making them feel fantastic. And I said, when you know exactly who you are, then don't deviate, don't shift, don't change the game plan, don't be reactive to the market, be proactive to your mission or your vision. And so she fully embraced the middle-aged brand, did all of her marketing with beautiful 40, 50, 60-year-old women in gorgeous clothes, started sponsoring events that were relevant to that target audience, started writing articles for them, and she has exploded. She's going gangbusters.
Great story.
Yeah, I have one other. I worked with a car dealership years ago, and he was really struggling. And he was selling old cars and new cars and luxury cars and economy cars and boats and trucks and all of these things. And the more lines he added, the more types of cars he added, the worse the business got. So we went through a discovery process and figured out in this process that he loved trucks more than anything in the world. He could talk all day about trucks. And I said, you only need to sell trucks. That's it. That's what you should sell. And of course, it took a couple of years to convince because he was scared. People are scared to cut off product lines. But when he did it, he became a truck center, got to talk about trucks all day long with everybody that came in, and he started to attract people that loved what he loved, and his business exploded as well.
And I think that's another good point, that in Asheville or any market, you can't be all things to everybody.
right.
You know.
That's right.
And I think Magnetic Theater does a very good job of that
They
too.
absolutely do.
That it's not for everybody, and some of the shows are not for everybody, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That you just try to reach, you know, your target market, I guess, is the real key.
Absolutely. I compare it to dating. You know, you wouldn't put up a dating profile that said, I like blondes, redheads, brunettes, old, young, smokers, not smokers. But you're going to be pretty specific about what you're looking for. And then that's how people feel special. If you can make your target audience feel like they are the perfect audience for you, then that's how we build relationships.
A great analogy, though, and it really, thank you for sharing that. It really makes sense. Murphy, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, we'll talk about two ways. First of all, about Kudzu Brands. Best bet is to do what?
Yeah, they just go to www.kudzubrands.com. And then I have a personal email or personal website, murphyfunkhausercaps.com, where you can learn more about my storytelling, my theater, and my personal work as a business coach and speaker.
Okay, and you also are on Facebook as well?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the books, all the things.
Okay, Murphy will keep you busy. And just recap again, the date of the upcoming show, which we encourage folks to see, is when? Is it?
September 5th through 15th at the Magnetic Theater.
I'd like to thank Murphy Funkhauser Caps for being my guest the second half hour on the Blainsville Show, Robert Thomas for being my guest the first half hour, also to Amy Prisnash, my producer, and to Zuzu Welsh, who provided the music you heard at the beginning of the show and you'll hear at the end. I look forward to having you join me next Wednesday at 9 a.m. here on the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina. You can also listen online at WPVM, at WPVMFM.org and watch on WPVM's Facebook page. Thanks for being with us.